The show is almost over. Let me set this alarm clock here. Okay, I set the alarm clock because I can run my mouth a whole hour. I need to do a show next year just run my mouth for an hour. I haven't done one in a while. I know who gonna watch it but me. But it's a show. It's a channel surfing show. You channel surf and you see old talking Mark running his mouth. You may get something out of it. Hopefully, you only watch 2 minutes of the show. You get something out of it. If you watch it on the internet, hopefully you watch it a little bit longer, or you can listen to me run my mouth while you surf your email or something. Okay. This is the last show of 2014. The year goes by very quick. I got my alarm clock here so I can be quiet in the show. The year goes by so fast. We know this. It's a cliche, but it really does. The show is over. I took a break. I took a month or two off last year. I mean 2014. I may do that. I may not do a show. I may not have a show in January. You may see a rerun in public access if they're nice to me, which they really are nice to me in public access television here in Chicago. Because I'm getting older. I'm getting more tired and whatnot. My get up and go has got up and went. And I need to focus on a few things. I need to revamp the show at some point, try some different things, and really stop doing a show so I can focus on other aspects of my life. You understand that? But I'm tempted to. I want to take a couple of months off, but I may not because there's elections coming up. Man, I need to take a break. But there's elections coming up, and I just had Marc Sims. Hopefully you saw the first part of the show. I had Marc Sims. He said he's running for mayor of Gary. He's out of his mind. If he listens to me, he might win. Off camera, I tell him, you need money, you need a movement, and you need some real proven political organizer, a person that has won political elections in Indiana, in Gary, or somewhere like Gary, where you could actually win the election, because it's like any other election. You have to get people to turn out and vote. Now, Marc Sims is running for mayor of Gary, and it's all about turnout. You got to get people who do not normally vote to vote for you. For what? And a lot of folks are not going to vote unless most people, they say, I don't get an instant tangible benefit for voting because I vote for you. I want an instant tangible benefit. And most of us don't get an instant tangible benefit from our vote. We do it because out of civic duty, civic pride, having our voice heard. Maybe we do like the issues, we're passionate about the issues, or we're passionate about that candidate who's promulgating and promoting these certain issues that we care about. But a lot of folks are consumed with the travails of life. They ain't say, why should I come out and vote for you? What do I get out of it? What's in it for me? And and that's the really big problem. I hear people, I'm on social media, and you want to find me, I'm on social media. And I talk to people on social media, and they running for alderman, right? My alderman is 21st Ward. I live in the 21st Ward, so my alderman is Alderman Brookins. And I tell these people on the social media, you're not going to beat Brookins. Well, you could, but more than likely you're not. It's like down the street, I'm in Auburn Gresham, so down the street over here, if you will, is the 34th Ward. Carrie Austin's been there. She became alderman when I was in like 8th grade, grammar school, 40 years ago. And now she's been there ever since. It's hard to be an incumbent alderman. I interviewed Alderman Brookins years ago. Great guy. Had him on the show a bunch of times. I think he was running for alderman the first time. I can't remember. I think he lost. Then he eventually won the second time. This man, his name is Brookins. His dad was state senator. They have a funeral home on the family has a funeral home on Ashland. He had name recognition. It was still hard for him to win. And then a few years ago, SCIU, the union SCIU spent like $500,000. They didn't have a good candidate. I don't know where this guy went. He evaporated after the election. Like a lot of these folks I talk on social media, I said, where are you going to be after the election? Most people run for alderman or whatever, then they get their feelings hurt, they get beat, and they say, I'll never run again. I'll never, support the community, especially if they black. I'm moving out to black neighborhood. I'm through with y'all, right? Because they get their feelings hurt because they running for the wrong reason. SCIU spent $500,000 to unseat Alderman Brookins, and they couldn't do it. They had him in a runoff, if I remember, but they couldn't beat him outright. It's really hard to beat a city alderman. It's really hard to beat Rahm Emanuel. He has $10 million. If you don't have a movement, like black folks got mad years ago at Jane Byrne, so they formed, a lot of organization and organizational skills and organizing, and Harold Washington became mayor, and the rest is history. But back then, that was 25, 30 years ago, African Americans, we had to be upset. Black folks had to be upset to vote. Then they still have to have a coalition with white liberals and Jewish people and all that kind of stuff. And there wasn't as many Latinos as it is now. The dynamics and the demographics has changed. But like I told Alderman Brookins years ago, I said, at some point, you need to go. You don't need to be there for 40 years or 30 years. Come on. I mean, after like 2 or 3 terms, they need to move on. That's why hopefully after this election's over, there's a movement you have to have some kind of binding resolution, voter, a referendum, or maybe the state legislature, which is probably not going to happen, will institute term limits. Term limits not the end all be all, but folks don't need to be in the office for 40 years. We have people in office, and they're really nice people. But I mean, they're really nice people, but they're in the office 30, 40 years. They need to go. Get somebody else younger to do their thing. Do something else. But even after the election's over, because as of right now, no one's going to beat Rahm Emanuel because he has a lot of money. Like Bruce Rauner won, he beat Pat Quinn, the governor. He beat the governor. One main reason, he had a lot of money. He spent $27 million of his own money. I ain't mad at him. No, ain't mad at him at all. You know what I'm saying? That's politics, people. Don't get upset. Don't get emotional. It is what it is. And so Rahm Emanuel, he can be beaten, but it'd be hard to beat a person that has $10 million. And this guy's like the Energizer Bunny. He's going to outwork anybody. This man, he was in Inglewood in November, early November. If you watch the show in December, he was in Inglewood at a 5K run. He ain't scared of black folks. He know how to win. Come on, and Mayor Daley won. He won the lion's share of every black ward. Not his first election, but all the subsequent elections, all the elections after that. He won the majority of all the black wards. Mayor Daley. It doesn't really matter at some point. If Mayor Rahm Emanuel wins, fine. If he loses, great. The main thing for us, we Negroes, we colored people in the African American community, especially those of us that live in neighborhoods like me, Auburn, Gresham, or whatever, we have to make sure our boys do well at school. That is everything. I was gonna write a blog. That's why I want to stop doing a show like every month. Let's say I do a show every other month so I can concentrate on other things. But I got this election coming up. I may have to crank out some shows. But after that, I can maybe take a break. But the thing about it is that on my little blog, you go to Marc Sims Chicago, you see my little cheap blog. It's, I'm a blogger. And then people your syntax is incorrect. You misspell a lot of words. No crap. I don't have a proofreader. I read my own stuff. I let other people be my proofreader, and they tell me you misspelled a word, cool, and I try to correct it. But on the blog, I just emphasize it's about black boys. And then the blog I really want to do next month, either November or December, just check the blog, Marc Sims Chicago, on the internet. That the one main problem in the African American community in Chicago, in the suburbs, anywhere in America, that the African American man, including me, makes less money than his wife or girlfriend. You understand that? The average brother makes less money than his wife or girlfriend, and he's less educated like me than his wife or girlfriend. So under that dynamic, how do we co-parent these children? How do we develop a community, a cohesive community, and develop an economic base? Under that dynamic, with the deindustrialization of America, most of the jobs are just $5 and $10 an hour jobs. If you're lucky, you make 20 bucks an hour if you have no skill. There was a time you had no skill, you could make a living and provide for your family. Now the average brother, and especially in average other men too, Latino, white, Asian, whatever, other American men, they cannot, quote unquote, provide for their family. It's really not their fault. It's the capitalism, it's the deindustrialization of America, the whole world economy, and computers and robots. We get computers and robots and software that replaces human beings. So under those dynamics, the average black man, especially average man, a lot of men, and the average black man cannot, quote unquote, provide for his family. And of course, African American, most of our children are born out of wedlock. So we're going to have babies. Folks are going to have babies. So in that dynamic, that black man cannot provide for his family, take care of his children. And so the society and the average black woman sees the black man as worthless until they need a stud. Well, as far as having a stud, the black man is still in business. The brothers are still in business. I wish I was a stud, but I ain't no stud. If I was a stud, I'd be a stud. But they need every once in a while, women need a stud, and that dynamic is not going to change. But as far as raising children, and developing neighborhoods, communities that are viable. That's our big problem. And under that dynamic, the African American community as a group, as a community, as a neighborhood would not be pretty much viable. Although we spend $1 trillion, but most of our $1 trillion we spend is food, clothing, and shelter. And of course, then it's foolishness. Okay, if we can just cut down on the foolishness, maybe we can develop an economic base. But we don't have a lack of leadership. We have a lack of leadership. We don't have bona fide leadership. That's like, you know, I don't have a problem with Rahm Emanuel per se, because I'm a limo driver by trade. That's what I do. I want a mayor that's going to bring businesses to downtown Chicago so I can drive these rich people and these corporate people around and I can eke out a living. I get a little trickle down and I can eke out a living. Okay? You can call me a slave. You can call me a wage slave. You can say I'm a slave on Massa Rahm Emanuel's plantation. You call it what you want. Most Americans are wage slaves, so don't get upset. Very few of us are really free. We were free slaves. We freed ourselves economically. Very few of us do that. Most of us are wage slaves, so don't start hating. Clean neighborhoods, safe neighborhoods, or excellent schools. It comes down to leadership. And the leadership is really hard. The dynamics are, how do I go in that house? And I say this all the time. How do I go in that house? I can't do it. I don't have the right temperament. I don't have the gravitas. I don't have the organizational skills. I don't have the institution, a proven institution that will allow me, that will go into that mama's house, that grandmama's house, and help her raise that black boy. Somebody's got to do it. I'm just a talker. I'm staying in my lane. Down the street in all these schools, if I ran for alderman, which I won't because I'm not a Christian, I have a disdain for organized religion. So a lot of black folks don't like people like me who have a disdain for organized religion. I'm pseudo-bourgeois, so a lot of folks don't like that. I'm not bourgeois, so the bourgeois don't like me, and I'm a fake bourgeois. Oh, look at it. It's ringing already, man. These minutes are going by so fast. I got to close out this show. Oh, I got like 3 more minutes maybe, and I got to close it out. Where was I? Clean neighborhoods, safe neighborhoods, excellent schools. And I was saying earlier, how do I or your group or institution or whoever can go in that local grammar school and make sure these black boys are reading at grade level? That is it. The most of our problems will take care of itself if you can raise black men who have a work ethic, who have a skill, or who are educated. A lot of black men, you roll up and down these streets, Auburn, Gresham, South Side, West Side, you see black men, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, up and down the street moping around. Because they have no education. They have no work ethic. And they have no skill. And it all stems from what happened at home back in the day. A lot of us got hooked on drugs. We made a lot of bad mistakes when our frontal lobes weren't fully developed in our teens and 20s. And these mistakes we made in our teens and 20s, early 20s, had just rolled us into the ground. A lot of black men, just rolled us in the ground. I mean, I made a few mistakes. I had a bad education. I wasn't properly educated. I have a bad attitude, and here we are. I'm an underachiever. It's really sad and pathetic. But I don't want these other black boys to be an underachiever like Marc Sims. If you can read at grade level, hopefully somebody will give you a work ethic, and you get a skill, carpentry, electrician, or whatever, plumber. You can write code. Become educated. You got a work ethic, you're going to make it. If you have a skill, you're going to, like writing code or being a carpenter or something, working with your hands, you're going to make it. If you're educated, you're going to use your brain. You can be an entrepreneur, or you can be, be the CEO or a CFO or some manager of retail or fast food. You can make it. But it all comes from who's helping you at home when you were a little boy and a teen to help you develop that work ethic and get that skill and get that education. Hopefully you understand.